Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. If there are any Mac users out there, you may remember that last year I spoke with Fleetsmith CEO Zack Blum about how they automatically manage apps, settings and security preferences across a company's entire Apple Mac fleet. And Fleetsmith was founded by former IT and security leaders from Dropbox and Wikia. Essentially, Fleetsmith combines world-class product and security engineering with a powerful, intuitive interface that makes advanced Mac management available for anyone. Now, in that last episode, we talked about how adding disk encryption and firewalls can actually be centrally managed to ensure that the Macs are compliant in the same way that IT departments look after Windows PCs. The problem that Fleetsmith set out to solve was that traditional Mac management solutions have a number of pain points, such as they're difficult to try before buying, they're often overly complicated, and they also require dedicated IT and security resources. And as a man that was raised in IT departments where anybody mentioned a Mac was enough to bring up any hardcore IT engineer out in a cold sweat, but that was going back a long time ago, and I think things have changed since then. But Fleetsmith was founded to address these long-standing frustrations with existing laptop management products. But having already gone through that journey and also being labelled as a stealth startup, I wanted to check in with Zack Blum to see how the company are progressing. Because I want to find out more about the introduction of Fleetsmith Free, along with the new security and DevOps catalogue apps that is aimed at solving those most critical IT and security pain points for anyone in charge of an estate of Macs. There's so much more I want to talk to him about, but I don't want to spoil it now, so buckle up, hold on tight, so I can beam your ears all the way back to San Francisco so we can speak with Zack from Fleetsmith. So a big warm welcome back to the show, Zack, but can you remind the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yes, thank you for having me back, Neil. It's lovely to be here again. I'm Zack Blum. I'm the CEO of Fleetsmith, and Fleetsmith is the most secure cloud-based Mac management product on the market. So we help companies with inventory, new hire computer provisioning, OS and application patching, security, and other great things that you need to do to manage a Mac fleet. Before Fleetsmith, I was the director of IT at Wikia, which is now called Fandom. And my co-founder, Jesse Endall, was in IT and security engineering at Dropbox. And so we came together and built the Mac management product that we had always wanted ourselves.
Now, when we last spoke, I think one of your startup's goals was to help small and mid-sized businesses finally exert control over their Apple Macs with no drama and minimal fuss. I mean, how's that journey going? Has your mission changed or even evolved into anything else along the way?
The journey is going great. Our mission has not changed at all. We're democratizing access to powerful, secure, cloud-based Mac management. We have an amazing G Suite integration. Our progress, though, has changed. We've come out with lots of new features and updates that I'm happy to get more into if you'd like to hear. But the fundamental mission of democratizing powerful Mac management for everyone is still exactly the same.
Excellent. Now, also, I think cybersecurity is a big, big deal now. And I would imagine even more so since we last spoke. So much has happened in that 10 months. But you did mention there was a few little updates there. I mean, could you talk about them or expand on those a little bit?
Sure, happy to. We've fundamentally come out with two new things, and these were in the latter part of June. The first one is Fleetsmith Free, and Fleetsmith Free allows customers with up to 10 Macs to use the product without spending a dime. It's completely free, no credit card required, and it's the full version of our product. So we released Fleetsmith Free because we realized there were lots of small, growing companies who needed Fleetsmith too. And we spent the time from when we launched in beta last year through June to make sure that we could make the product ready for small growing companies as well as the larger ones. So anyone can come sign up completely for free, no credit card required, and secure and manage up to 10 Macs. And then for large and growing companies, they can try the full featured version of Fleetsmith with no restrictions before committing fully. And we've gotten lots of great feedback on how seamless the sign-up experience is, how easy it is to test Fleetsmith. And so for the bigger companies who want a friction-free instant pilot, Fleetsmith Free really helps them as well. So Fleetsmith Free was the first core thing we released recently. And the other is the security and DevOps catalog items. And so what that means is in addition to making sure everybody can use Fleetsmith, we wanted to expand the power of Fleetsmith and let people add additional apps and management functionality beyond even Fleetsmith itself. So a few examples there. Puppet and Chef integrations. Puppet and Chef are configuration management products that allow you to pretty much do anything you want in terms of configuration or security or applications on a fleet of computers or servers. And so we've added Puppet and Chef. We've also added OS Query, which is a SQL interface to querying your entire fleet state. FileBeat, which is a log aggregation agent to send computer logs into Elasticsearch. And Malwarebytes, which is great anti-malware. So a lot of these features and applications were things that our power users needed. And we were able to help them by adding it to Fleetsmith, meaning they could instantly deploy and continually update as well as configure all of these products. So the other thing is, just a couple of weeks ago in the security and DevOps section of our catalog, we released an exciting new feature called custom bash scripts. And custom bash scripts allow power users to accomplish anything they could do directly on an individual Mac in the terminal, but securely over the internet for their whole fleet. So again, Fleetsmith free, everyone can use Fleetsmith, small and large. And then for our power users, a bunch of great security and DevOps products as well.
So what was the inspiration behind the free plan that allow, where you said that you're allowing customers with up to 10 Macs to use this cloud-based management solution without spending a dime? I mean, why did you feel you needed to do that? Was just to get people on board?
Yeah, a couple things. One is we really feel that it's critical that everybody manage their Mac fleet. It's so easy to do, and there's no friction to getting it done. Then there's no reason not to have a secure Mac fleet. And we want to make sure that that's the state of the world out there. And so for the small companies who otherwise wouldn't have a good solution, Fleetsmith is now a great opportunity for them. And that just makes everyone more secure, frankly. And then for the larger folks, a little background. When you're deciding on rolling out a new product that's internally, that's as important as something like computer management, you want to make sure it works really well before you start using it. And so once the IT person checks it out on their own computer and sees that it's nice, they'll want to do a pilot deployment internally. And so with Fleetsmith Free, we've just removed all the friction around getting that pilot deployment out and letting people make sure it's right for them with absolutely no commitment. And fortunately, for them and for us, quite a few people have decided it's the right move. So it's worked out great for everybody.
Cool. Now, I have been following your progress since we last spoke, like I do with all my guests, and I did notice that you'd received a certification under the EU US Privacy Shield framework. I mean, can you give an overview of what exactly that is and why it's so special and what this certification actually means to Fleetsmith too?
Absolutely. So the EU US Privacy Shield framework is a framework that describes how the companies in it will handle user data and maintain user privacy between the EU and the US. And it's you may have heard of Safe Harbor.
Yeah.
Privacy Shield is its replacement. So fundamentally, it's part of our commitment to security and the privacy of our users' information. And we're secure by design, and we keep personally identifying information, all user information, incredibly secure. And we just want to make sure that we're just very clear on that. It's extremely important to us in every aspect of what we do. And so becoming Privacy Shield certified was part of that for us.
Now, I believe you've also signed up some pretty big high-profile clients since we last spoke too. I mean, is that something that you can expand on as well?
Sure. We've signed up quite a few folks. A couple I can talk about are HackerOne, which is a really well-known bug bounty company, and they're incredibly security conscious, of course, being a security company. So I think that speaks nicely to the fact that they feel like with Fleetsmith, they're even more secure than they were before, which is a great endorsement from a great company. The other one that we're really excited about is Fandom, which is my old company. And my old boss, Craig Palmer, the CEO, said some really nice things about us. And to paraphrase, they chose Fleetsmith because it's more than just a tool for IT. They chose it because it adds value to the whole business. And what he meant by that is when you have a managed Mac fleet, what happens is all of your employees are on a uniform, up-to-date computing environment. So they can be more productive. They don't have constant pop-up windows. And when IT is troubleshooting, they know exactly the state of the world out there. And that adds strategic bandwidth for IT. So really happy to have Fandom on board, near and dear to my heart. And of course, HackerOne, just two great companies, really excited to see them on.
Now, as someone that's still got IT blood running through my veins, I'm just relieved that Macs are finally being brought under the controlling arm of IT, because for so long they were almost rogue and nobody went near them. So you were left alone out there.
Absolutely.
And there was a bit of an illusion out there, wasn't there, for people. There's probably a lot of people listening now that has a Mac and thinks, I don't need to worry about security. That's a Microsoft problem or another operating system problem. But when it comes to Mac security, what do you think that people should be doing right? And why? Can you also explain why businesses cannot afford to ignore security on that Mac estate in the same way that they don't with the Windows estate?
Sure. Last time I was on, we talked about how Macs do get viruses, and guess what? They still do. Mac market share is growing.
Yeah.
It's outperforming the market. And a lot of the corporate attacks you see these days are coming through the front door, so to speak, through the employees, because companies have actually done a fairly decent job, which they hadn't in the past, of securing their infrastructure and their applications. And so the soft target is really the employees. And a lot of these attacks come through employee laptops. So Mac market share is growing. A lot of the attacks are coming through laptops. You need to get secure. If you're using Macs, because in the past, Macs didn't have a lot of market share. So all the attackers' time was best spent on Windows. But now that that's not the case, we just see frequently in the press viruses and malware and other things on Mac. So you got to get secure. If I could share just two small action items for everybody who hasn't done it yet. One about your cloud services and one about your devices. So on the cloud services, the number one thing you can do if you haven't yet done it is turn on and enforce two-factor authentication on all the cloud services that support it, and do this immediately. There's just no excuse when your services and your tools do support it not to add that security. And then on the device side, manage your devices. When you manage your computers, you can enforce really critical security settings like disk encryption, firewall, screensaver and password settings. You can add anti-malware, and I could go on. But what you can do is just check off, pick that low-hanging fruit. And given how simple it is now to manage your Macs, and if you have under 10, it's free, Fleetsmith, there's just really no excuse not to do these core security best practices anymore.
I would also imagine for you guys that you're heavily reliant on feedback to make sure that you evolve the product and everything that you do at Fleetsmith effectively. So how do you ensure that you get that invaluable feedback to ensure Fleetsmith continues to solve those most critical IT and security pain points for anyone that's in charge of a company of Macs? It's probably many IT directors' worst nightmare because they don't know too much about them. But how do you get that feedback back from those departments?
Well, we're very lucky because our customers, new customers, existing customers, prospective customers are incredibly vocal, very passionate about their Mac management, which means we get great feedback.
Yeah.
And so when there's a kind of something they want to see added or something that they think would work better for their workflow, they let us know. And that's been really great. We're also really involved in the open source and Mac admin communities, as well as the security community. And so we get a lot of feedback from those places. And some customers have shared that they chose us because we have such an open channel for communication with customers. We actively solicit feedback. We respond really quickly when customers reach out. And frankly, we add their requests to our product roadmaps quite frequently. And that's in contrast to some of the other experiences that our customers have had, where they just don't have that same close relationship with their vendors in the same way.
It really seems as well that secure by design is a core value at Fleetsmith. Is this something that you will continue to be reflected in everything that you do there?
Yes, all of our products need to be secure by design. It's just, like you said, a core value.
Yeah.
It includes web security, code security, infrastructure security, as far as our own product. And then on the customer-facing product side, before we decide to build a feature, it just has to pass a security bar, and we have a hard line on that. We've seen a lot of computer management products not do that, and so from day one, it was always imperative to us that we were secure by design. So it literally has been there from day one, and it'll continue to be. There's no compromise there.
Seems that you've been incredibly busy since we last spoke. And I mean, we've already talked about how the service has evolved through feedback in June when you introduced Fleetsmith Free, along with that security and DevOps catalog apps. I mean, but what is next? I mean, how do you see Fleetsmith continuing to evolve over the next 12 months? I mean, I appreciate it's probably not too much you can share, but is there anything that you can?
Sure. With Fleetsmith Free, we've been able to address all sizes of customers. And now we're in the progress of building some additional powerful new features to make Mac management with Fleetsmith even better for a variety of customers. I can't get into too much detail there, but I want to focus on continuing to automate very manual, labor-intensive processes. And so we're going to be making the whole process that much more efficient. Very excited about it. And again, news later this year.
Well, a big thank you for coming back on the show today. I really appreciate it. It's great to hear how well you're doing and how it's continuing to evolve. But before I do let you go, can you just point the listeners in the direction of your website and also how they can take advantage of Fleetsmith Free?
Sure. It's been great to be on, and thank you again for having me. For anybody who wants to check it out, you just sign up on fleetsmith.com, and it's about 6 seconds until you're in. You can actually actively start managing your fleet. No credit card, you're just in. You do need the read org user's permission on G Suite. If you're a super admin, you already have that. And otherwise, you can ask your admin to add the read org user's permission.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for coming back on the show. Hopefully we can get you back on in another 9 months. And hopefully we'll get to speak in between. But again, a big thank you for coming on and sharing your story today. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure, Neil, and thank you so much. It's always fun, and I'm looking forward to the next 9 months.
I love how secure by design is not just a buzzword, but a core value over there at Fleetsmith. And I think this is reflected in everything that they do. And it's refreshing to see that security is not just an afterthought, but it's an inherent part of their company. And if you are a Mac user or have Macs in your organisation, I've got to ask the question, how are you currently managing security of your Mac estate? Saying that we don't need to worry about it is just not going to cut it anymore. And let's face it, it's foolhardy at best. But that's just my stance. Let me know your thoughts by emailing me at techblogwriter@outlook.com or tweeting me at Neil C. Hughes. I'm very interested in hearing your experiences with platforms such as Fleetsmith and any alternatives out there and your experiences using them. And I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in today. Our community is growing every day, and it's incredibly humbling for me to see people listening in. I think it's 154 countries now at the moment, and listening to these stories that we're sharing every day around our very own virtual campfire. I really do think it's fascinating, but that's it. I'm out of time. I will be back for tomorrow. I hope you'll join me. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.